Welcome back to Project Devo 722. This is the channel where we talk about the auto industry and the automotive culture and everything in between. Today, we're talking about the brand that was founded for first-time car buyers, the youth, and to grab a hold of the growing tuner industry at the time. That's right, we're talking about fucking Scion. So today we're going to get into talking about Scion. It was a brand that was created by Toyota in 2003 with two very niche models, the Scion XB and the Scion TC. These cars came in at around $13,000 brand new. And the cool thing about how Toyota designed this is they wanted to target the kids growing up and seeing these Fast and the Furious movies and the growth of the tuner culture. They also wanted to give a entry level market to get into their brand to hopefully, once those kids grew out of the Scion vehicle or matured and started having kids, they could go into something like a Corolla or a RAV4 or something like that because they're already familiar with the product. That was the main scheme of it. One of the awesome things about this brand, when it first dropped, was they geared themselves towards a base model standard. So basically, what that means is the vehicles themselves were virtually completely base model. You could The price that you saw on the ad, it was the price that you were going to pay out the door if you just went in and purchased the car up front, depending on whether it was automatic or manual and a couple other variables. But the biggest thing about it, there was no trim levels. Like right now, you'll have a low tier, like a base tier, mid tier, high tier, luxury tier, and a sports tier. You don't have that with Scion. You basically had a base format, and you had an accessory book with over 150 plus accessories from not just the manufacturer, but aftermarket brands as well. And what that allowed you to do was piece together and customize your vehicle before you left the dealership. So it was really ahead of its time in a sense because it was like built like made to order almost. And you didn't have to custom order the car from Toyota or from Scion. You could go straight to the dealer and then pick the car up a couple days later after the accessories were installed, which is really cool. Like Toyota's plethora of accessories went from everything from supercharger kits, body kits, ground effects, mud flaps, rear spoilers, exhaust, obviously just a performance mods, interior dress up, neon, decals, you name it, they pretty much had it out for these things. And the other thing that they did that was pretty cool, they had a targeted couple of aftermarket companies that they brought in, like aftermarket performance companies that they brought in, like G Ready, OBX, and Rezo, that came in to basically add these parts into their catalog to give you a car that you could literally roll off the lot with and show up to a car meet and pretty much not got ran all over, which you were going to get ran all over anyway because some of the stuff that back in the 90s and mid 2000s was not to be messed with. And Twitter really sold this with their advertisement. I remember there was a couple different commercials that they had out there that had like anime stuff in it. They had a website where you could go on and customize the car, and like just dress it up. And like as a kid, we'd go online and just play with that website. And some of the stuff, it wasn't even available at dealerships. You could just throw it on the car, make like it look cool, take a snapshot of it, and like give it to your friends. It was actually pretty nifty. The other cool thing about them was that they, like I said, they were targeting the entry level sales. So at that time, there was a financial crisis going on. So these cars were readily affordable. They did have a couple other vehicles come out, like in the 2004, 2005, 2006 time frame, which were just grocery getters, like mom and pop little things, kind of remind you of like a Toyota Yaris type thing. I think one was called like the XD and the XA. Those really didn't sell much. They were out there. They were available for purchase. I mean, they got like 30 miles to the gallon, which was good back then, but they really weren't sought after. They weren't youthful cars. The XB, pretty much a freaking shoebox on wheels, the first gen. They came out with the second gen a little bit later. I think it was like 2006, and it was rounded. A little bit better looking. I'm going to be posting pictures up here in the corner as we go through the video. TC was a proverbial chick car for the tuners for some reason. Everybody just said, "Hey, you know, it's a chick car. Looks like a girl car." The first generation, the second generation, better, but still looked like a chick car. The third and final generation of the TC, I thought had a nice aggressive front end on it. The back end was kind of hideous, but I think the outside and the way the interior of the car was pretty nice. Um, Underpowered. I mean, it's a front wheel drive car. I mean, it had like I think 165 horsepower, which was cool. But what was really cool about the third gen TC was it used the same 2.5 engine that you would have in your Toyota Rav4 or your Toyota Camry. But what was cool about that was that the motor mounts for that engine also matched up to the 2GR engine that was in the six-cylinder Camry. So you could actually swap the six-cylinder Camry engine into that and get upwards of 200 horsepower naturally aspirated in that car with that swap done. I've only seen about two of them in my lifetime, but I have heard that there's guys out there that have these things turbocharged and they haul all types of ass because the vehicle is relatively light for that type of horsepower range. Um, Problem was you can't keep front tires on it. But going forward with Scion here, they started running into financial problems around 2008. Sales decreased pretty bad at one point, to the point where they were looking at possibly abandoning ship by like 2010, 2012. And then they were Toyota was collaborating with Subaru on a new model that they thought was going to be the quite possibly could be the savior of the brand. So they brought out the Scion FRS, which is today's Toyota GR86 or GT86. Um, that car still lives on. They brought that car out as a Scion FRS. They also brought out the Scion IM and the Scion IA. The IA was virtually like a Mazda 2, just rebadged. The Scion IM, which is what you would know today as a Corolla hatchback, which once Scion went under, that's what it became, the Corolla hatchback. But the FRS sales jumped up, but then when they realized they had another problem, they discontinued the XB. They still offered the XA as a little entry level car, but the problem was that the TC sales fell way off because people that were looking at the TCs were the same people that were looking at the FRS. So where they thought the sales were going to taper off because you had two different climates looking at it, they just fell off. And what I was surprised that they didn't do, honestly, was they didn't either increase the horsepower on the FRS by putting a turbo in it because that thing would have sold like hotcakes, or even adding an all-wheel drive system onto the TC to make an all-wheel drive two-door coupe. I think would have been increased the selling point and split the demographic. But it just didn't work out for them. Sales kept plummeting on the models that they did have out there. So by 2016, they decided just to axe the whole brand together. And then there you have the predecessor vehicles that were rebadged over to Toyota, like the IA was turned into like the Yaris, the IM turned into the Corolla wagon or hatch, and then the FRS turned into the GT86, and the brand was over. I mean, the brand was, in my opinion, was a little bit at the same time early and late. I think if that brand came out in like 98, like maybe 97 to 98, and it really hit in that tuner, like when Fast and Furious came out in 99 and really hit it when the tuner explosion happened, I think there would be more sales on them. I think they would have looked out better for the first couple of years they were in it. I also think that getting rid of the XB, even though the sales were down, I think a redesign on the XB, maybe adding all-wheel drive to it, might have saved that car, or at least elongated the brand long enough before they can make it into this time era where there's another financial crisis going on, and people are looking for that entry level car at like $22,000 or less, for example, as a base model vehicle. Because as of right now, I think most brands' base model vehicles are up in that 27 to 30 range. So as it is, um, with that, and I think they really missed the mark on it. Also, I think that brand was really, really, really special in the way that they had their accessories laid out. Now, me working for Subaru, I can tell you that our accessory books are decent for what they are, per vehicle, especially like for like wilderness package models that are just come out and stuff like that. Subaru drivers like to accessorize their vehicles. Let's just put it that way. So they do have a plethora of nice accessory booklets for the vehicles. Now, when I worked at Toyota, there were certain models that had decent accessories to them, but you look back at the other stuff and there was scarce. Like you might have like a TRD like shift knob or something, but like there wasn't, like door cards or anything crazy or like neon kits or exhaust or anything like that was just readily available, that you could just bolt on anything. You had to buy like a specific trim level with a specific package to get that stuff. Um, and that's where that I think that market would help out a brand at the moment. Like if you could come out with like for example, we'll use Honda and Toyota for example. If you could come out with a Corolla or a Civic that's just bare bones car, just something to get point A to point B kind of set up, and then have an accessory book that you can build up your own trim, like just like a cookie cutter base platform, come out and have that thing range around like 21 grand. I think you would make, I mean, looking at the way the market is right now, you could probably make a freaking killing off of those things because you have somebody come out buy that way, and you have other people come out just slapping stuff on it because they want to. Especially if you give that car potential, like you put like a decent 4-cylinder engine in there that can hold some power upgrades. I think that would be, now that's just me coming from the tuner aspect of things, not from your normal Joe Schmo out there on the street common traffic. But I really think that a brand like Scion, right now in the industry, because, and the other thing too that you have to look at, like I think they would do good because a lot of the people coming up now that are starting to drive now, and I hate to say it, these kids don't want to work and they're kind of lazy. So if you give these kids a platform that they can just buy from the dealership and have the stuff bolted on at the dealership and throw it in with their loan, they're probably going to do it. Just because they don't feel like putting it on themselves, they don't feel like doing the work. You know what I mean? Um, so I think that would be a good market to get into. Um, but yeah, that's Scion in a nutshell. Just gonna do some few channel information before we part ways here this week. Uh, Real quick, guys, you like what you see here? Like, follow, subscribe. Also, follow us on Instagram. I will be launching a TikTok in a couple of weeks here, to try to gauge more interest in the channel. If you want to be on the Followers Rise video section, make sure you are like, commenting, subscribing, sharing the videos, stuff like that. I see you. I have like a handful of 10, 12 guys already, that I have that are on a list that I'm going to be contacting probably by the time this video comes out, to start scheduling for the next 2 weeks here on weekends to get over to your places to shoot your videos, so we have some content going into the new year here. I want to try to get a new viewers rides video out before Christmas if possible, and then continue to maybe one or two a month after that, all the way up through. But we need to grow the channel up here a little bit, guys. Get some more people in here so we can keep the stuff fresh here for the viewers rides. You have any ideas for future videos, like brands you want me to go at, check out, or anything like that? Comment below. We'll see you next week, guys. Have a good one.